Hey everybody, Sol here. I have only one rule here. If it's animated, I'll comment on it. And ever since I started doing this show over a year ago, I have been on a quest. A quest that many have dismissed as being silly or pointless. They said I could be doing better things with my life, like writing a depressing Broadway play, or eating 10,000 Snicker bars, or just be traditional and shackle myself to a wee little crying baby, but those pursuits are not for me. No, my quest is a valiant one, to seek out the best pieces of animation in existence in this great wide world of ours. And though I've heard of it many times before, I have never seen The Iron Giant, which a lot of people have regarded as an animation classic. Now, does it hold that reputation because of nostalgia, or is it genuinely one of the best pieces of animation in existence? Well, dear viewers, that's what we're going to find out today, isn't it? So, why don't you come and join me then? But before we get started, let me just blow through the history of this movie real quick, okay? So, The Iron Giant is a movie animated with a blend of 2D and 3D animation, produced by Warner Brothers Pictures, directed by Brad Bird, and it was released in 1999 to a surprisingly disappointing box office turnout, due mostly in part to a lack of advertising on Warner Brothers' part, though the movie did become a cult classic later down the line. Well, wait a minute. A movie with high ambitions that underperformed at the box office and later became a cult hit? That's a recipe for perfection right there! So, I guess I should stop prattling on. It's time for me to pay my dues as we take a look at The Iron Giant. The plot for this movie feels like it's stitched together from many different sources, but that stitching is thankfully very careful and masterfully made, like a warm, loving quilt sewn by your dear old grandmama. You know what I mean, grandmama. So then, in the town of Rockwell, Maine, in the year 1957, right smack dab in the middle of the Cold War, a young boy named Hogarth comes across a giant metal robot that fell from the sky in the forest. The giant, after being damaged, befriends Hogarth and begins to learn about life on Earth, but Kent Mansley, a paranoid government agent, gradually closes in on the two, threatening their newfound friendship. As I said, this plot has a little bit of everything. King Kong, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and probably others that I can't think of off the top of my head. But the execution of these plot points is superb, and never once feels derivative or lazy, which I was hoping against hope would happen, as I've felt way too much deja vu when it comes to animated movies. But I'm still a critic of sorts, I suppose, so I won't pass judgment until the very end. So troll out the characters already. Hogarth Hughes is the star of the show here, and is a kid. Yeah. Other than being brave and tenacious, with a good heart and a name that sounds like he should be joining a raid in World of Warcraft, there's not too much to say about Hogarth. Though I regard him pretty highly anyway, because children in his position are more often than not excruciatingly annoying, and Hogarth is not at all, thankfully, even with his squeaky puberty voice. Then of course there's the giant, who acts like a curious child after he gets damaged by being electrocuted. Despite his gentle exterior, he's completely covered in weaponry and retaliates extremely violently when threatened. The giant is so sweet, and every muscle in my cold and blackened heart is telling me that I'm being manipulated. But no, I silence those loud screams, because I can tell when sweetness is only there for manipulation, and I don't get any of those vibes from the giant. The way he expresses remorse when he inadvertently hurts someone or something, or when he doesn't understand his situation is very genuine, like watching a toddler, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And that's one hell of an accomplishment, because most of the time I want to do this to toddlers or anything that acts like a toddler. Next up is Dean McCoppin, a beatnik who works at the junkyard and makes art out of the scrap metal. Dean gets dragged into the situation with Hogarth and the giant when Hogarth hides the giant in his junkyard. I hate when there's nothing particularly of note to say about a character, because that just means I have to pad this explanation out until the next one. And the antagonist is Kent Mansley, a paranoid and somewhat skeevy government worker who obsessively tries to wrestle the truth about the giant from Hogarth. What I enjoy about Kent is that he's very much a product of the time he lives in. The wide, tense smile on his face belies his fear and desperation, echoing the burgeoning nuclear conflict between the US and the Soviet Union. That may sound like pretentious prattle, but a lot of the movie's tone is like that too, so I think it's valid. Anyway, about Kent himself, I consider it a massive grace that he's not just a goofy foil for Hogarth to toy with, like in something like Home Alone or Looney Tunes. This man is scary, and that is made abundantly clear the more the movie goes on. Funny how a simple human can be more intimidating and unsettling than a 50-foot metal-eating robot. So the plot and the characters have held their heads high in the face of scrutiny, it seems. Time to talk about the good things then, and let's have a grand old time, shall we? Like I've said, the plot is well executed, the characters are fun and entertaining for the most part, so where does that leave the pacing? As regular viewers know, I absolutely hate broken pacing, and I was scared that this movie would run at far too fast a pace, but not at all. In fact, I'd compare this most starkly to Samurai Jack, as this movie makes the most of its slower moments, as well as its silence, to great effect. I'd even go as far as to call this the Samurai Jack of animated movies, as it shares so many positive similarities with that series, execution-wise. The animation quality is top-notch, as is to be expected of Warner Brothers, and uses a very muted color palette, like a Norman Rockwell painting. Oh, because they live in Rockwell, Maine. I get it. I don't get it. But yes, the whole environment that the movie creates is nicely atmospheric, akin to Gravity Falls and Alan Wake. Also, the retro 50s style and the kind of B-movie vibe this whole film gives off is very appealing, and somewhat unique for that age of animation, I'd say. Ah, yes, actually, and that brings me to my main point. This is a movie that, if it were made today, probably would not fly as well as it did back in 1999. There's a fair bit of swearing, violence, and adult themes running through the veins of this whole movie, and I have nothing but respect for that, as it reinforces the notion that something can be for kids but still have teeth, a notion that has unfortunately been mostly lost in our overly sensitive world of late. It even has a moral that stays in line with the plot progression and is quite a heartening message at that. Honestly, everything, from the tone to the design, the pacing to the orchestration, is just expertly crafted, and I'm finding myself completely devoid of any criticisms. Except. There is one exception. Something that I prayed would not happen, and it did anyway, and left me so disappointed. It was so solid, so amazing in its existence from the very beginning that it breaks my heart to say that I absolutely despise the last 3 minutes of this movie, whereupon all integrity this movie has gets nuked to hell. Now, I've gone on record saying that I'm not really a lover of happy endings, but I'll accept them if the plot dictates that it deserves one. This movie does not deserve one. It has the same problem as the end of The Dark Knight Rises, in that if you make sacrifice a key point of the climax, you can't tack on a scene right at the end that undoes all that, as well as create a sudden romance when there wasn't a need for one. It's a kick in the balls to everything you were previously setting up. I can't even tell you how bitter this farce of an ending makes me, because this movie is so close. It's so close. I can feel its fingers brushing up against the golden pedestal of perfection, but it just can't reach it. And that just makes my soul cry. The Iron Giant is the example that films should follow in trying to create a compelling narrative while still using old formulas and ideas. If it weren't for the infuriating cop-out ending hastily appended to it, I would dare to call this movie near perfect, with some incredibly tiny niggles not even worth mentioning. But unfortunately, that ending does exist, whether I like it or not, though despite it, I'd still say that this movie certainly deserves its place among the stars of animation. I give The Iron Giant 4.5 eyes out of 5. So, The Iron Giant. Is it watchable? Fuck yes. If you have not seen this movie, I command you to watch it. And if you find a way to go back in time, watch it in the theaters and contribute to its box office gross. Is it enjoyable? Other than that insanely irritating cop-out ending stitched onto this movie like a vestigial toe, I would say, yes, you should never stop watching this movie. Is it memorable? Well, it didn't perform well in box offices at first, but it has attained a cult status since, and had an extended re-release in the future as well, so I guess people do remember it. And Warner Brothers certainly took the lessons this movie taught and applied it to their future animated movies, because after this movie, they made Osmosis Jones and Looney Tunes Back in Action. Well, Well, I guess people don't learn from the past, and my valiant quest continues to find the absolute best pieces of animation in this world. For I am Sol, reviewer of animation, finder of the perfect pieces of animation, and I will walk off into the sunset with a glorious smile. That underperformed at the box office otter boxes. Fuck. Oh, I didn't know that was loaded. Want to stay up to date with the latest EyeofSol news? You can follow me on Twitter as well as on Facebook at twitter.com/EyeofSol299 and facebook.com/EyeofSol. I update them every day, so if you want to check out news on the show as well as updates, just follow the links here. Hey everybody, thanks for watching my review of The Iron Giant. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, I would appreciate a like and a share, as well as a subscription to my channel, because I always do appreciate that. If you want to see the previous Sol episodes, you can see the annotations playing on the video right now, or if you want to check out my various social media sites, you can see my links to my Twitch channel, Twitter page, and my Facebook fan page there on the screen for you, as well as in the description. If you have an idea for an animated series or movie you want me to comment on, you can leave me a message in the YouTube comments on any one of my social media sites, or just let me know in any way you can think of to let me know what you want to see, and I will add it to my list. Alright? Thanks again for watching everybody, and I will see you next week for another series review.